Welcome to the You Are More podcast. I'm Blaine Ledbetter.
And I'm Laken Stewart. If you're looking for an authentic community that shares the truth of the gospel and the truth about life, you've come to the right place.
We believe that you are more. You're more than motherhood, more than your ministry, and more than your career. Grab a cup of coffee and listen in to hear the truth about what it means to find your identity in Christ through every season of life.
Welcome to the You Are More podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the You Are More podcast. It's Laken here and Blaine is on here with me, and we're excited that you're back here listening in to us non-experts talk about things
very much non-experts.
Non-experts. Yeah. So today I think we'd love to just sit down and chat through what motherhood looks like for us just right now, what it's looked like in the past few years. Blaine has a few more years on her belt than I do in terms of mothering. But I'd love to hear just from you, Blaine, today, just how many kids you have, what season of life you're in with kids, and just kind of start off there, and we can kind of share our I don't know, sparks of knowledge or wisdom that we can bestow upon the listener.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's Blaine, if you didn't know. So glad to be back, but kids, motherhood man. 101.
What a
Here
trip.
We go. Oh man. Yeah. So I currently have 3 kids, love them very much, love them all very equally, but differently. If you have more than one kid, you understand.
Yeah.
They keep me on my toes. There's never a dull moment. And they're stair steps. So they're 2, 4, and 6. And could not have ever imagined having 3 kids. Life definitely looks very different from what I imagined. Even when we began having kids, I was like, I just
one
never
and
would have
done.
expected. Yeah. I mean, 3 is still just blows my mind. It's a circus.
You're
it's chaotic.
Yeah.
Very. We go from playing man-to-man to like zone defense, like everybody who's covering who.
Yeah.
Oh, but it is so fun, and I tell anyone that to encourage them, who will have, 2 or more kids. I'm like, it is so crazy, and there's never quiet, but I love it so much.
Yeah.
I mean, each kid that we've had, I'm like, man, you've just added more and more joy and love to our life. So, currently season of life, Laken and I were talking about this before we came on here, but she, was feeling like, and she can talk more on this, but feeling like still in survival mode. And I was telling her that I feel like we are coming out of survival mode at finally 2 years postpartum and hopefully moving into a season of thriving with the kids.
Yeah.
I am praising the Lord that my kids are all sleeping through the night. I don't know how, other than God's grace.
Have your kids come do an intervention with mine?
I literally, I have no advice other than God's grace and mercy made them sleep through the night. Yeah. I can tell you one day they will sleep through the night. When my first was 6 months old and not sleeping, and just all the dumb stuff that my husband and I did to try to get him to sleep.
You buy every product known to man. And none of it works.
No. And I think through nursing him in the middle of the night, and I would just turn all the lights on. I'm like, is that not going to wake him up? Yes. I look back and I'm like, I just did not know. First time mom, I did not know. And honestly, you're just trying to survive at that point. But also to the point where all my kids can feed themselves. That's huge. That is huge. They're getting more independent. And while
that's incredible,
I know for some people that probably makes them sad, it really.
No, I cannot wait for that day.
I enjoy my kids getting older. I really do, because the oldest is super helpful. He is so smart. He's getting, he has the driest humor, and I love it so much.
I love
My
that.
middle child is spicy, but I love her so much. Would not change it. I try not to, dampen
Squash her
her.
spirit. Yeah.
Never, never. I just
You
trying
can't
to
squash their
train her
spirit.
up.
Yeah.
So, and then of course our youngest is finally um getting out of the potty training stage and
Mm.
again, getting so big, but I
So your little baby. Yeah.
yes, I know I'm like you're still my baby and she still gets treated like a baby because she's just spoiled, but I'm definitely just in a different season of motherhood right now that I personally can be a little bit more independent of,
Mm.
my kids still need me a lot, but I'm trying to teach them independence with
Yeah.
various things throughout the house, but trying to, you know, the newborn years feel so
It's just a
like
fog. I feel like just
it is.
you've repressed all those memories of,
It is. And
yeah.
I thankfully look back and the majority of the memories that I have of my kids being tiny babies are all the good parts.
Mm. Yeah.
I really do think that the Lord, in his loving kindness, blocks out.
Protects your mind. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That's really the only, I don't know,
I love it.
motivation to attempt to have more children. So that's me and my season of motherhood just
Yeah.
as of right now. Laken, let's throw it to you. How many kids? How
Yeah.
old? What's your season of life looking like now with kids?
Yeah. I have two little girls, both in the COVID era. So
Hmm.
my oldest is almost 3. So she was born in December of 2020. So my pregnancy was during COVID, literally got
Hmm.
pregnant at the very beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And that was definitely hard. And then after she was born, I went back to work 8 weeks postpartum. I worked full
Hmm.
time at an elementary school. So I was gone 10 hours a day. And that was terrible, just being frank. I suffered terribly
Hmm.
with like postpartum depression and just struggled in that season of life of her first year of life. I just really, really had a hard time. And then 6 months postpartum from our first, I got surprise pregnant with our second, and I truthfully grieved for a little bit, but
Hmm.
our second born is just so magical. Like I just can't describe her other
Hmm.
than just pure magic. It makes me cry like thinking about it. She is the blessing I never knew I needed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's really, really changed just my outlook on motherhood, and has, like, she being a baby has taught me how to nurture well and listen well, and things that I
Hmm.
did not do with my first because of just where I was at
Yeah.
mentally. And so my babies are 15 months apart, and so almost Irish twins. And Blaine, I think your first two are about
Hmm.
pretty similar as
They
well.
are. Yep.
um and so yeah, I am in a season of life where my youngest is 18 months old, and let me tell you, this is my least favorite age ever. They are into everything,
Oh,
and
yes. Mm.
just like the other day, she's starting to form words now, and but can't quite say exactly what she wants, so she just grunts at everything. She'll just point to something and grunt at it, and we're like, what do you want?
Oh, man.
um
She's so cute. Every time we hop on a Zoom and she's there, I mean, her little
she's
smile.
she's
I'm
got
like, I would
this,
give you anything. Yes.
yeah, she's got this like mullet hairstyle going on, which
I
is
love
just
it.
hilarious. But yeah, I'm definitely in a season where I still feel like I'm in survival mode most days. My oldest goes to a little preschool, which has been super helpful, and
Hmm.
just getting her socialized. And she is, you were talking about your second born being spicy. She is every bit of spicy. I feel like if our
Oh,
kids were to
yeah.
get together, they would just spice up the
Bless
whole
whoever's
place.
around them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even, I can make no promises.
But yeah, I love them so, so much. And if you're a mom, you know how your heart expands every time you have
Hmm.
just a child, and you wonder, like, how can I ever hold space for all of this? And you do. And I think God has perfectly designed us to hold that space in our hearts for our kids and our husbands and our friends. And it's just incredible. And I think the way you described it, Blaine, is you love your children equally, but you love them differently. And that's something that I really resonate with. My oldest is definitely a daddy's girl. And so I kind of get the shaft most of the time, but I have learned to love her well through that. And my second born is just the snuggliest little baby and toddler now, which makes me sad, but definitely ready for them to grow up, but also want them to, like, I want them to see their independence as something to be grasped and just learning to grow in that way of life, and looking forward to the future, but also really trying to stay present in our season right now, because I think so much of motherhood is like waiting for the next thing to happen. Like when they're babies, you're like, when are they going to roll over? When are they going to sleep through the night? When are they going to do this and that?
Always looking to the next milestone.
And I think every time I see a mom who has a baby that is like almost walking and she's like, why won't you walk already? I'm like, girl, you don't want your baby to walk yet.
She will start sprinting down the driveway as mine did the other day. I'm like, oh
mine still does that. Yeah. And so yeah, those, I hate when people say like, harness this moment, don't ever forget it, because it's like, you don't understand how hard it is right now, but also like, how to hold close to that mindset and also really want your kids to be independent. It's definitely you're towing two sides of the same fence, I think. And
I think it's a both and. We can both be so excited for the next season, but also be really sad that they are growing up.
Yeah.
So let's talk more. You mentioned it, and as soon as you said it, I was like, yep, the grief that happens when you, are blessed to get pregnant with the next baby. I didn't experience so much going from 1 to 2, because getting pregnant with the second while my first was turning 1, so they're 20 months apart or something like that. I did not anticipate that age gap, and so they're like twins, but so the grief wasn't there so much, and there were other things going on in our life. We were foster parents at the time, so we really had a lot going on. Yeah. So it was kind of like processing being foster parents and also being pregnant. That's just, it was a lot. But the grief of going from 2 to 3, and I know you mentioned it, I just remember thinking like, I can't do this, because postpartum depression with my second was so hard that I was like, mentally, I cannot do this. And so, so grieving.
Yeah. It's it's hard to understand truly unless you've experienced it. So if you're listening to this and you have experienced postpartum depression, gosh, my heart is in line with yours. Man. It is just one of the hardest things to ever go through, to look at your baby and, this sounds terrible, but almost feel empty and just not know what to feel and what to say and what to do. And I remember when our firstborn was literally an hour or two old, I didn't want to hold her. And I'm like, what is this feeling? Like, what is this? And how do I get rid of this feeling?
Right.
My little ones are coming in right now.
Speaking of those sweet babies.
What's that on?
What's that on your head?
No, I'm sorry. It's some headphones, girl.
I want a headphone.
Okay, Daddy will get your headphones out of your backpack. I'll be done in just a minute.
The next new podcaster.
I love it. What did he say?
He said your mom is the next new hot podcaster.
I love it.
No, I love it that happened in the middle of a very sensitive moment.
It was God's grace.
It was,
because that's hard.
Yeah, that's something that I just definitely experienced. And Thankfully did not experience with my second baby, but with my first, it was just a hard, like, and I ended up going on medication just to help get out of the fog. And truly, that's one of the best things I ever did for myself.
Mine manifested as more postpartum rage with the second, depression and rage, but oh man, it was so rough. And I remember I went to a counselor. I spoke with my midwife, and she said, just go to counseling first. And then my counselor was like, well, look at some mood stabilizing medications if you need it. And so that's why when I was pregnant with the third, I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I literally dread the postpartum period because I cannot imagine. And postpartum depression hit me about 6 months in with my third. And I remember, it's hard to describe if you haven't been in it, but I just remember being so sad and texting my husband, like, I got to do something. Like, I just looking at the kids being so sad. I just wanted, I told someone, I was like, I don't want to, leave
do
this
it
world
anymore.
But I just don't want to be here. So I was not having thoughts of harming myself or the kids, but I was just like, I just want to go away. Like, I'd really just want to leave. And that's when I was like, I'm not going to spend this baby's first year of life depressed. I want to enjoy motherhood. And so I did end up taking medication, and best decision I ever made. Not on it anymore. And I knew, I was like, I don't want to be on this for the rest of my life, but I knew that I needed help then. And so stayed on medicine for a few months, and that helped me get through really, really, really hard. And I remember, getting pregnant with the third, I was like, God, it was that grief of like, why? And not even that it wasn't unplanned or anything. It was just like, man, it was this guilt of like, there are people who can't have babies, and that makes me so sad. But then our family personally went through some really, really hard, tough things. And our third has been that bright light that
I love it.
Literally just cannot describe the joy. And like, she still to this day is just the sweetest, cuddliest, loving, spicy. Oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do with two spicy girls.
You got the Spice Girls in your house.
Blaine. Love it. Yep. So it's getting easier in terms of every season of life has its challenges. So let's let's switch gears. Like,
I agree.
What is the best advice that you've gotten as a mother? Best advice. We're definitely going to go into the worst, but
best
or best advice.
Best advice. I think I have a hard time with this because I don't feel like any advice I received was good. Just kidding. No, honestly, I think the best advice I got from someone was, you don't have to listen to the advice that you get. I think because when you're a first-time mom, or even a second-time mom, or you blame a third-time mom over again, you get so much information thrown at you from sources like the internet, or your friends, or your grandma, or your great aunt who thinks, you should do this, this, and this. And the best advice I received was from a friend she had her first baby about 6 or 7 months before I had my first. And I asked her, like, okay, what was the best advice you received? And she said, honestly, I'm not sure, but the best advice I can give you is to filter all of the information. Like, know what is best for your baby, and advocate for that. And don't let all of the information and advice you receive bog you down. And that's something that I've really kept in the forefront of my mind, of like, I am my child's mother. My husband is my child's father. We know what's best for them and our family, and just to pursue that. And we know that the Lord has called us to parent our children in a very particular way. And when we make that decision, those boundary lines are drawn, and that's how we've chosen to live. And I think that's some of the best advice I've ever received, of just filter the information and don't believe everything you read.
For
all of
sure.
those things. Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if it was to me directly or if I was listening, but they were like, you don't have to enjoy every moment with your kid. Am I grateful that I have my kids? Yes. Would not, I mean, I cannot imagine my life without my kids. But do I have to enjoy when they are throwing a temper tantrum on the floor and I feel like I'm drowning in laundry? No, I don't enjoy every moment.
Who would? If you would, you need to see a doctor.
Well, so on the flip side of that, the worst advice that I've gotten is enjoy every moment. Just wait, or just wait till they get to be 13 and they're smart mouths, or just wait until they're 18 and they're leaving the house, or just wait. I'm like,
why don't you just wait? Take a beat.
I mean, it literally paralyzes me with fear sometimes.
Yeah.
But then I decided and read somewhere some beautiful something that was like, every season of parenting is hard, but it just looks very different. Like, no matter if I'm obviously not parenting middle schoolers and high schoolers. I know how rough and tumble I was in high school, and I dread that.
Yeah.
But I also hope that, and we can be as intentional as we want to be with our kids, and they could still decide to,
make their own decisions.
They will. And I do hope that they will. But every season has been hard. When you're newborn, I mean, you literally are not sleeping. You're leaking from everywhere. You don't know why your baby's crying.
You don't know why you're crying.
Yes. The world is telling you got to get your postpartum or your pre-baby body back. I'm like, I never lost it.
That was deceased. Yeah.
Yep. I'm like, it's gone. And this is my new body that's birthed 3 babies, toddler stage.
Amen. Yeah.
They are defiant, and that's hard because you're like parenting a mini version of yourself.
So humbling.
I mean, it's all hard. It just looks different. And I know that, some people who are listening to this probably have older kids and they're like, yeah, it gets harder. But at the same time, I'm like, I think it's all hard in each season. But I personally am just trying to enjoy when it's actually really good, so that when I look back, I'm like, that was a hard season, but remember when they were so cute and did this and this.
I know. You said a few minutes ago just about how when you think back on the newborn stage or the early toddler stage, like, you remember the good. And I think that's an intentional choice of just remembering the good and capturing those moments in your mind. And like, there's a lot of hard days, but also there's a lot of really good days sprinkled in. And honestly, I think the good days are more frequent than the bad. And I think sometimes our brains, like, if you're anything like me, I become very overstimulated very quickly.
Yes.
And my brain will just immediately go to like this dark place of like, gosh, this is the worst day ever. We haven't had a good day in a long time, when really, like, we just had a good day the day before.
Right.
I kind of catastrophize everything, and learning to not do that is something I'm still trying to learn. So
I just remember someone told me, and then I've shared it several times, but I'm like, daily bread, daily manna.
Yeah.
God sent them out to collect their daily manna, and if they kept any more for the next day, it was going to be rotten. You can only take your daily bread,
or else your next day is going to be rotten.
I know. So I just think about that. I'm like, today may be bad, but it doesn't mean tomorrow's going to be. Or like, Lord, give me exactly what I need for today. And thankfully, in Lamentations, his mercies are literally new every morning. And I tell you, like, even if we have a bad day and I feel like all I've done is yelled at my kids, the next day they're going to wake up and be like, hey, mama.
I know. They don't remember.
No.
At all.
Not at all. Not at all. You ask them. I remember asking our kids one day about something that had happened, because it was like a rough week. I mean, it just really was. And of course, what are they going to pull out from that? That's the funnest thing that we did.
Yeah.
The whole week. I'm like,
I know.
Praise God for that.
I know my oldest has this thing where anything she does in past tense is, I did that yesterday. So even if she did it like
Everything
an
is
hour
last week.
ago,
Mhm.
everything is yesterday. And so she was talking the other day about something that she had done literally an hour before. She goes, yesterday I built blocks and it was so fun. And it was just an hour before. And I'm like, girl,
Their concept of time.
Everything
Everything is last week. I did this. And I'm like, baby, that was last year. Literally last summer. But that's okay.
And it's because I think children's minds are just wired to remember the good. And I think there are lots of kids in this world who experience hard things. Mm-hmm. And I think trauma-induced, circumstances can definitely change this. But I know my kids specifically, they remember the good. And I think that's something that we have to remember about kids is if you just shower them with good things and good things from the Lord, they're going to remember that and take that away.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Do with that what you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything else to add? Motherhood.
Yeah, there's so much more to add, but not enough time here. We're trying to keep these episodes.
Another episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just revisiting this and how I think in future episodes, I know we're going to talk more about just what ministry is like for us and how I think we had played around with the title of Not Your Mama's Pastor's Wife, because that's exactly who we are. So we're excited to talk about what ministry life is like, and just thankful for you guys listening. Hit subscribe and follow us on Instagram for the latest updates. So Blaine, anything else?
That's it. We'll see you next week.
See ya.